The importance of shape keys for your animations, game effects, VFX, real-time effects, or anything like that really cannot be overstated. They're super powerful, very simple, and incredibly easy to use. They will take your animations to the next level in a very short period of time. Let's go ahead and hop right into it. All right, so in your new Blender scene, what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna actually use the default cube here. And we're gonna hop right down immediately over to the modifiers panel, add modifier, generate, and subdivision surface. I'm gonna pump my levels up to 4 and the render up to 4 as well. Levels is essentially the amount of subdivision you're gonna have on your cube. So all these little squares you see. And the render amount is how much you will see when you actually render it out. So it is important to have those matched up just so you know exactly what you're gonna get with this effect. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and take my cube ball now and hit SZ and shrink it down. We're gonna add another modifier on it. Go to deform, and we are going to go to displace. Inside of your displacement modifier here, you see this new panel. Go ahead and hit new. And then we're going to scroll down here to your texture properties where it says image or movie. We're going to go ahead and click that and change it to clouds. We'll go back to your modifiers real quick and we'll change the coordinates from local to global and right click and shade smooth. I'm going to go back down to my texture here and I'm going to go ahead and change the size of it to something a little softer, something like that. Okay. So now you see, if I go ahead and shrink and move this, it will affect the way it looks. All right, so let's go ahead and give it a few more subdivisions. There we go, that's looking nice. So 6 and 6. All right, so let's go ahead and give this a slight animation here. I'm gonna go ahead and stretch it on the Y-axis a little bit, something like that. Looks good. We want it to start somewhere on frame 60. I'm going to start at frame 40. So if we go to your animation tab up top, down here you'll have your dope sheet already open. Slide my little frame finder here to frame 40. And I'm going to hit I with my cursor on my viewport to go ahead and insert a keyframe for this guy. I'm going to go to frame 20 and hit S0, left click, and I to enter that in. So now if you go from frame 20 to frame 40, that happens. I'm also going to go to, say, frame 69, sure, and just hit S and X to give it a little bit more animation afterwards. So it looks like it's kind of freezing, you know, so it freezes quick and then slowly kind of expands a little bit to frame 69 there, just to give it a little bit more depth. Okay, so you have that first part done. Next, I'm going to go ahead and on frame 69, I'm going to Shift D this, right click, and convert to mesh. It still has the keyframes on it, so we're going to go ahead and hit, with this duplicate selected, select all your keyframes down here by putting your cursor down in the timeline, hitting A, and delete. So now only the top one has animations on it. Go back to frame 69, and we're going to add the shape keys to this bottom one here. So here's where the magic happens. We're gonna go ahead and hit tab into edit mode for the solid one, right? The one that has no animations or anything like that. We're gonna go down to data, right here, the data tab, looks like a little green triangle. And under shape keys in object mode, we're gonna hit plus and plus again. And so this is your base essentially. So the shape you have now, it's gonna remember that shape. And key 1 is what we're gonna animate for this animation here. So on frame 69, we can leave the value at 0. And we can go to, say, frame 89 and tab into edit mode here. Hit 1 for vertex select. And go ahead and just hold shift and left click and select some vertices on this guy, only on the top. I don't really want it on the bottom or anything like that. I mean, you can if you want, you get maybe an interesting result, but I'm not going to do that. Go up top here and you can hit O for proportional editing, or you can just click the proportional editing here, hit the drop down and select random. Now, with your cursor in your viewport and these verts selected, hit G Shift X, and pull your verts over. Something like that. Now you can see how it's randomly affecting all the other verts. That's exactly what I want. I'm going to select a few more places here. Same procedure, G, Shift X, and a little smaller. Then I'm going to grab some of these other ones here and G, Shift X to make them a little longer so we have some variation. All right. Now, if you slide your value up over here under the Shape Keys window and insert the keyframe for that, you'll see, boom, boom. So that's exactly what we want. So let's select this one that's totally static. Should be the one the shape keys are coming from. So right here at frame 69, if you go up here to your outliner, we're going to name this Spike. Why not? And the other one, we can just leave it as cube is fine, or you can name it, you know, grow, sure. Just so you can kind of know, the difference between which ones you have. Since they are pretty much the same shape, you're gonna want to be able to grab them easily so you can change them. From frame 69, we're going to go ahead and go up to your outliner under Spike where it has this little camera. This is being able to see it or not in renders. And it's a little tricky because you won't be able to really see the effect here in the viewport, but you will be able to see the effect when it's rendered. So with this little camera, we're going to go ahead and hit I because we do want to see it here. We go back one frame to 68, click the little camera so it has an X on it and hit I. So we're going from invisible on frame 68 to visible on frame 69. The spikes grow. Right, they grow to frame 89, and then let's have them stay till frame, say 100. Go over to your shape keys and insert a keyframe there. So they're just staying, and then we can go to say frame 115, pull it back down to 0 and insert a keyframe there. So the spikes come up and back down. I'm actually going to have that happen a little quicker, so I'm going to select all these keyframes and G and just move them in a little bit. That's what I want. So now it's ending on frame 101. I'll move this over to frame 100 just to keep it simple. Okay, so if you guys don't understand exactly what I did there on the spike one that we labeled spike here, that we have the shape keys on, I went ahead and just grabbed these keyframes. You can box select them and just G to grab and move them over just so, the distance between 69 and 75 is much shorter, so it's going to happen a lot quicker. We're going to insert a keyframe over that visibility again on frame 100 where it ends. Go to frame 101, invisible, insert that keyframe. So now it's saying invisible, 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 visible, spikes, spikes down, visible, invisible. So when that renders out, you will see exactly what I'm talking about. Now I'm going to go ahead and take this spike one again, Shift D, grab it and move it down. I'm gonna go ahead and delete all the keyframes on it. I'm gonna go ahead and go down to our particles tab, add a new particle group. Okay, and so now the start and end is what we're gonna start with here. So on frame 70, is where we're going to start it. So we're going to go ahead and say, let me pull this out so you can see, frame start will be 70 and frame end will be 71. So it'll emit all the particles for one frame. Let's change the amount to say 500, a little lower. Okay, so now go ahead and scroll down real quick to render, and where it says show emitter, untick that box. So that means when we render this out, we won't see this random object down here that's emitting our particles, but we will see our particles. Go ahead, unselect everything, Shift A, and we're gonna add in a UV sphere, grab it, move it over, shrink it way down, tab into edit mode, And I'm going to grab the top vert, shift, grab the bottom vert, SZ, we still have random on, so that's perfect. And we can just kind of distort it up a little bit to look like, I don't know, an ice crystal or something. Not super important. And this is going to be our particle. So we're going to click back on our particle emitter. So I'm just going to rename it Partic. Sure. And under the particle emission settings here, where it says render as halo, I'm going to drop that down and say object. And then a eyedropper will appear under instance object. You're going to eyedrop that little crystal shard we just made. So now it should drop a bunch of those little shards, and it is, and they're really tiny. So let's go ahead and pump the scale up quite a bit. The scale randomness, drag that up. Check this rotation box, drop down, and just pump randomize all the way up. So now you'll see, boom, now they're randomly distributed. That's exactly what we want. Shift A and add in a force field, force. Kind of move it back, down, and behind, like it's pushing these spikes up. It is a force field. It's not a force field like protect you from bullets kind of force field. It's a force field as in it is a force of, let's say, nature, right? So it's wind or the force from Star Wars. Let's go with that. So that's essentially exactly what it is actually. So we're going to go ahead and go down to the force field properties here and change it from point to plane. And plane, it doesn't look any different. When it's point, it will, this entire circle around, it will push out in all directions equally. When you select plane, it will only push up and down. So we're going to go ahead and hit R, X, and rotate that so it's around the same axes as all these spikes, right? So this rotation here, perfect. So it's going to push up and down, but the down doesn't really matter. It's just going to push up, which is exactly what we want. On frame 71, we will take the strength to 0. Click this little dot to enter a keyframe. And go to frame 72. Crank this up to, say, 9. And we'll crank it up to, say, 14 on frame 76. And then back to 0 on frame 77. See what that looks like. On our emitter here, the Partic, I'm going to go ahead and go to velocity and change it back. So go change the velocity normal to something like 3, 4, something like that. That looks pretty good. And all right, basically just playing with the strength of my force field till I get something I like. I will also change the flow. Let's say, all right, so a flow of 2 is good. Now let's go ahead and give our force field a little more power. Under object velocity on the Partic object and the particle settings, turn up the randomize there so it's a little more random. Okay, perfect. So under lifetime, we can turn up lifetime randomness. And now, if we play, boom, they start disappearing. That's exactly what we want. Alrighty. Feel free to play with all the particle settings just to get the effect that you're going for. I think this looks pretty good. It looks not bad at all. Now it's time to color it. So let's go ahead and hop into render preview mode. We are going to leave it on Eevee since we're just going to be probably rendering this out and turning it into like a sprite sheet or something and importing it into a game engine. Then I'm going to go ahead and just leave it on Eevee. Enable bloom for me and go to the shading tab and drop down where it says object and go to world. We're going to delete that. Shift A, shade, texture, environment texture. Go ahead and just find yourselves a HDRI. You can go to polyhaven.com. Has plenty of HDRIs for you guys to peruse from. They are free in CC0, so feel free to use them for whatever you like. Okay, so I have my HDRI loaded up here. Go back to object. I'm going to go ahead and say go to render, film, and tick transparent. That way I have the nice lighting, but I don't need to see the grass and all that other junk. So let's go ahead and click the ice spikes here and start with my coloring. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the principal BSDF. Shift A and add in a mix shader. Shift A, add in a glass BSDF, plug it into the top. Shift A, add in an emission shader. And before we plug it in, let's go ahead and mess with the glass here. So let's bring the roughness up a bit and the IOR up. Something along those lines looks pretty good to me. And we'll go ahead and plug the emission in. Shift A and search for a layer weight node. And we'll go ahead and plug the Fresnel into factor. So we're going to use that Fresnel from the layer weight as a mask to tell us, or to tell Blender, what we want to be glass and what we want to be emission. Let's change the emission to a light blue, turn up the strength on it, and Shift A, add in a color ramp, and we'll go ahead and drop that color ramp right in between the layer weight and mix shader. If we change it to constant, slide the black up, slide the white up towards the black. Okay, so this color is called material, apparently. So let's just call it ice by double clicking and naming it ice. Let's go ahead and that is ice, ice. This little ice shard will also change to ice. Okay, so you see all the little ice shards now take on the same color as this one over here. Move it out of the way. And there we go. So if we go to animation, and we watch our animation, boom, there we go. I put the little, go to the output tab, select an output destination. I'm just gonna put it on my desktop and call it test ice. You guys can call it whatever you want. Where it says PNG, this is super important so you don't have a million pictures on your desktop. Change it to FFmpeg, and you should have a nice render. Before we render animation, we're gonna go ahead and grab our camera. Basically, just put it in a position I like. I'm gonna play the animation, boom, so we can really see what we're gonna capture here. Click on your particle generator object, and this little camera is probably checked, so uncheck it, and then go ahead and render animation. And they should be visible now. Boom. Yep, they certainly are. Okay, so that is how you use keyframes inside of Blender. You can use them for so many different things. You can even animate completely with them if you want to go super hardcore like that. If you guys found this tutorial useful and helpful, consider liking and subscribing so you don't miss any of my future content. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.